Good evening, everybody. I'm Hannah Doba, and for Elizabeth Vargas, we are following several major breaking developments tonight. In just hours, President Trump will hold one of the most consequential meetings of his second term, a sit-down with Chinese President Xi in South Korea. It will be their first in-person meeting since 2019, and the two leaders have a lot to talk about, with trade topping the agenda. Meanwhile, in the Caribbean, we are tracking the destruction from Hurricane Melissa, one of the strongest Atlantic hurricanes in history. It's already killed dozens of people. In a moment, we will speak with a woman from Virginia who is stranded with her husband in Jamaica as officials continue to warn of catastrophic flooding. But we begin tonight at the University of Mississippi, where Vice President JD Vance is facing his own consequential challenge, a Q&A with college students in the style of his late friend, conservative activist Charlie Kirk. Vance is about to take questions from students at an event held by Turning Point USA. That, of course, is the organization Kirk founded. Charlie's widow, Erika Kirk, is also scheduled to speak before that happens. She'll take the stage any moment now as we take a live look at Ole Miss. Now, this video from earlier shows a huge crowd. Look at that line of people who waited in the rain to get in. Let's go to NewsNation's Jessica Curtalia. She is live for us now at Ole Miss. Good evening, Jessica. The VP's got big shoes to fill tonight.
Hi. Yeah, he certainly does. And Hannah, I'm going to tell you all about it. But this is Grace. Grace has been standing in line for 4 hours, so she wants to get in there because they are delayed and they're just now starting. Grace, what do you want to hear the VP say tonight?
Really, I just want him to say whatever he wants to say. You know, I just came here because I think it's like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. You know, it's not every day that you get to go see like the vice president at your campus.
You stood outside. It is cold. It is rainy,
yeah.
And you were out there for 4 hours.
Yeah.
Is it worth it?
It is so worth it. You know, like I said, it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
All right. Well, Grace, go ahead. I know you want to get in there. Thank you
so much.
Thanks.
It's so nice to meet you.
Likewise. So, Hannah, we stood outside with these students. There was a line. The arena can hold 9,500 people, but we just saw thousands being turned away. Thousands. That's how big this line was. And it circled a couple times. They had a separate line for non-students. So we spoke with people from the community who just wanted to come out. Several said that they had driven in from Alabama. We spoke with a girl from Baton Rouge who'd come here as well. This is the first time that Erika Kirk is going to be speaking in public. Also, JD Vance, like you said, taking questions from college students, which is the first time that something like that has happened. So essentially filling Charlie Kirk's shoes, if you will. So we're going to head on in and listen to what is happening here. They're showing a video at this point, and then they'll start with the speakers. As I mentioned, it's delayed. So everybody had to go through heavy security screenings. We went through almost like a TSA checkpoint, and Secret Services here as well. So that's probably part of the reason for the delay. But Hannah, I'll go ahead and send it back to you.
I'm already hearing the applause from inside the auditorium. Jessica Curtalia, we'll check in with you. Thank you. And as we wait for things to kick off, let's remember it has been 49 days since a shooter assassinated Charlie Kirk at Utah Valley University. Since then, President Trump has posthumously awarded Kirk the Medal of Freedom. On October 14th, Kirk's birthday, it's been declared a national day of remembrance for him. And now a group of senators is pushing for a statue of Kirk to be included in President Trump's proposed National Garden of American Heroes. In a letter to the president, the lawmakers wrote in part this: the inclusion of Mr. Kirk in the National Garden would not only honor his personal achievements, but would also underscore the vital role that civic engagement plays in our national heritage, end quote. If approved, a sculpture of Kirk would join the likes of Martin Luther King Jr., Albert Einstein, and Abraham Lincoln. The garden is set to open in July in South Dakota, right near Mount Rushmore. I'm joined now by the senator leading this push to include Kirk, Republican Bill Cassidy of Louisiana. Sir, welcome to the show.
Hey, thank you, Anna. Good to be with you.
Senator, there's been renewed attention on the National Garden of American Heroes after J.D. Vance's Turning Point event. You saw Jessica there at Ole Miss, of course, including adding figures like Charlie Kirk. Tell me why you think Kirk belongs in that lineup.
Ask why there's 9,500 students there. Ask why there's a motivation by young people to drive from neighboring states to be there. Yes, it's the vice president. It's really the pivot point of what's happening, which is Charlie Kirk. And you may argue now his wife, who's become quite inspirational. In that garden, Charlie represents for young people what other iconic people represent for others. Why should we not honor someone who's engaged in a way which was so positive, reaching out to those who disagreed, and in turn brought people into the political process in a constructive, civil way, as opposed to a violent, angry way?
Yeah, he certainly touched a lot of young people. We're seeing it play out at Ole Miss, to your point. I'm going to switch gears here a bit, Senator. You've been one of the senators backing Josh Hawley's bill to keep SNAP funded even during the shutdown going on day 30. Why did you decide to support it?
Well, of course, we could have SNAP funding tomorrow if Chuck Schumer would stop the shutdown. But we should not. There's like 800,000 kids, people in my state, 350,000 children who rely upon food stamps. My governor may do a short-term thing, but the reality is that if the federal government has made this commitment for a family, which otherwise doesn't have the means to purchase food for their children, we should honor that because families have come to depend upon it. We're a rich nation. We don't want those children to go hungry. Again, I applaud my governor because he's trying to pick up the slack. President Trump has tried to fill in. Chuck Schumer could end it tomorrow by ending the shutdown. But in the meantime, let's get the SNAP benefits to the children who need it. It just seems the right thing to do. Would be if it was my child or your child, but let's do it for someone else's child.
Let's talk about Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. There is news he may get behind it. Do you see this as a rare bipartisan moment, or do you worry it will get folded into broader negotiations moving forward?
You know, this should be a bipartisan moment. If there's one thing that we can agree is that children should not go hungry. And so if he would get behind this, that would be great.
Let's move on to the shutdown. As of today, there are some reports, even some optimism, progress in the shutdown. Can you give us your read? Is that optimism justified?
It might be. People are recognizing that when the Schumer shutdown, although it could end tomorrow, has not ended for almost a month. And the longer it goes, the more the troops aren't paid, the air traffic controllers aren't paid, keep on going down the list. And so at some point, folks realize that it's time to end. I'm hoping that time has come now.
I want to switch gears. Once again, it's a busy day. You've been one of the most vocal Republicans pressing RFK Jr. on vaccines. In recent hearings, you also said just last month that parents should not have confidence in the vaccine advisory panel if it's reshaped under Kennedy appointees. That's a strong statement. Do you still stand by that, Senator?
But the ACIP right now has kind of tossed the consensus of science out the window. Not entirely. There's some things that they are pressing upon, but not yet have changed. But I'm very uncomfortable with the rationale they're using for their decisions. I continue to encourage parents to speak to your child's pediatrician, but vaccines are safe and effective. I'm a doctor, I have seen children and adults die from vaccine-preventable diseases. When I used to speak to the older pediatricians, they said before the measles vaccine, there were hospital wards filled with children there with complications of measles. We've had 2 children die in West Texas from measles, a vaccine-preventable disease. So anything which suggests that the vaccines are not safe and effective and that the benefit of taking is much, much greater than the risk of taking is misleading. And we've been hearing a lot of misleading talk.
Yeah, how dangerous are these statements coming from the White House to all the parents out there who are probably very confused with the messaging?
Actually, the president has stated his support for immunization. And I'll note that when the president got his physical, he got both the flu and the COVID vaccine. Way back when somebody was talking about ending the polio shot, President Trump was like, no, we're not going to do that. And that talk stopped. So the president has spoken out quite favorably about immunization, and that's a good thing. The president's probably, he is old enough to remember people having complications from vaccine-preventable diseases. You don't have to. Get vaccinated.
But the head of the health department that President Trump appointed obviously is saying the complete opposite thing.
Not the complete opposite thing. I'll note that after the 2 children died in West Texas, Secretary Kennedy said the children should be vaccinated for measles, if you will.
For measles.
But I absolutely, there's things that he and I disagree with on. Again, I'm a doctor. I have seen people die from complications of hepatitis B. I've seen people who were infected at birth from hepatitis B. And so if you're have not had the benefit of my experience, you may not realize that. But some people are infected at birth from their mother with hepatitis B. I don't want that to happen. By the way, I'll also point out that President Trump considers Operation Warp Speed one of his great achievements, in which a vaccine that was supposed to take 18 months at least, maybe 10 years, was ready in 10 or 11 months. And at that time, saved millions of lives and reopened the economy. I'll say the president's pretty pro-vaccine.
Senator Cassidy, I want to ask you about something completely different now. There is recent reporting. It shows Governor Jeff Landry hosted a meeting directly with the LSU Board of Supervisors to fire Coach Brian Kelly. It happened inside the governor's mansion. He's even said he prefers President Donald Trump picking the next coach. As you know, this is usually a decision that comes from the university. You sit on the federal committees overseeing higher education. Do you see anything problematic in a governor exerting influence over a university's athletic program?
Actually, what he said is that the Board of Supervisors will appoint, which is the people that head the university, that the Board of Supervisors will get a commission or some committee that will help decide. And so it's still the university deciding, and it's the right thing for the university to decide.
But, I mean, this is obviously becoming a big headline. It's become a big story. What do you think about the governor and how he's handling this? Well, the governor said that as I understand it, let me start over. The governor can do what he wants. I mean, LSU football is big back home, and if you look at yes.
And if you look at it, people are not like. I mean, if you look at the Advocate, which is the local paper in Baton Rouge, the top 10 red stories are all about this coach. Now the governor said he's not picking the coach. So, but he did meet with the Board of Supervisors, and the Board of Supervisors is going to have a role in it. That's not unusual. That's been done in the past. As I recall, the president of the university and maybe the Board of Supervisors had a role in picking Nick Saban when he came to LSU long ago. So it's not always just the athletic director. So it could just be going back to where things once were.
Senator Cassidy, we touched on a lot of topics tonight. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, go Tigers.
Now to the Caribbean, where the deadly hurricane Melissa is continuing its rampage north, taking aim at the Bahamas now. The storm is a Category 1 hurricane with winds at 90 miles an hour, still powerful enough to inflict damage to anything in its path. That includes the southeastern Bahamas, which are now under a full hurricane warning. Punishing winds and rains are being felt right now. It's just the latest stop for the storm, which has already left a path of death and destruction across the Caribbean. It slammed into Jamaica yesterday. You hear the wind as a Category 5 hurricane, winds at 185 miles an hour. It was the strongest hurricane ever recorded in the island's history. Trees are still down, roads are still flooded. Nearly 80% of Jamaica is still without power, and critical internet service is very poor. Melissa then hit Cuba. Officials there say a staggering 735,000 people took shelter during that storm. Houses there are left collapsed and roads are blocked from the heavy damage. And at least 32 people have died across the Caribbean due to this storm, 23 of them in Haiti alone. And the race is on to save the lives of many others who were left stranded by the perilous storm. And that's where my next guest comes in. Brian Stern, the founder of Gray Bull Rescue. He travels the world with the veteran-led nonprofit, rescuing those stranded in natural disasters, going where others simply won't go. Thanks for joining us tonight, Brian. You're actually on a plane. You just landed in Jamaica. Thanks for making time for us.
We're actually flying over Jamaica as we speak, looking for good runways, just to make sure that it's safe to land.
You have built your career on rescuing Americans in war zones and disaster zones. You're standing by, you're heading into Jamaica. You have called this a Category 5 hurricane on steroids. Talk to me about the complexity of this storm.
The big issue with the storm, as it is right now, the number one problem is communications. Everything is down. So it's very hard to find out where the problems really are versus when you can see. Communications are going to come back up, but that is the biggest problem. Water is receding, the wind is ended, and the rain event is basically concluded. Now it's all about where is everybody stuck, who's trapped, who's missing, and all those things. That requires communications and teams to get up and around. That's why we're here.
You're concerned about communications. What other logistical challenges are you expecting when you land?
A big issue is the safety of the roads.
Brian is in the air right now, so I know the connection is a little weak. Brian, I'm going to ask you again if you can hear me. You mentioned communications going to be a problem when you land. What other logistical challenges do you expect? We are having problems with Brian Stern. Again, he's from Grable. Him and his staff are headed to Jamaica right now to help with rescue efforts. Brian, thank you again. For Virginia resident Jessica Pope, getting stuck in Jamaica during the worst hurricane in the island's history is not what she planned. When she, her husband, and their 4 friends booked their annual October getaway to the Caribbean this year. Instead of the blue skies and the beautiful waters the islands are famous for, Jessica and her group got this, a front seat to the wanton destruction of Hurricane Melissa. Their waterfront hotel in southwest Jamaica is just miles from where Melissa made landfall in New Hope yesterday with devastating force. And it's where Jessica and her friends are still stranded today. Jessica and friends, hi, welcome.
Hi.
Well, first, all of you are smiling. That's a good sign. I want to ask how all of you are doing. What's the last 24 hours been like? Jessica.
It's been very stressful. I don't know that we've processed it yet. I know that we're kind of still in like, what do we do next? What's the next step? What's the plan? We're trying to keep our spirits up. We were able to talk to our families this morning, so that brought a lot of us a lot of peace because we knew they were home hearing Lord knows what. And so that helped a lot. But we're doing okay. Sandals has treated us amazing. They've kept us fed. They've worked all day to clear the pathways, so when we can go out and leave our rooms, we're safe. Any room that was just destroyed, our friends, their room was completely destroyed, so they were moved to a safer area. And we're doing okay. Long story short.
Yeah, you mentioned your friend's room was destroyed. Can you tell me a little bit about the damage, or can your friend?
That was our room. So after the iPad, the second part of the roof of our building came through and busted the window out, which created like a whirlwind effect, wind tunnel. And so my husband and I retreated to the bathroom, and he made me get in the tub, and I was completely hysterical and he was completely calm. And he held our door shut for 2.5 hours until it calmed down a little bit and I could climb on the toilet, and I started screaming for Jess and Shelly. And then they came over and we made her run for their room. It was a long 2.5 hours.
That sounds terrifying. So the window is blown out. You and your husband are hiding in the bathroom from all the winds and the flooding for 2 hours. I am curious, you guys plan this every year. This seems like a very fun bunch, by the way. Do you know that there was a chance of a hurricane when you headed down to Jamaica? Or I'm sure you didn't know you'd be stuck there, but did you have an idea this might be coming?
No, it was like a tropical storm. We didn't know anything about it. We just came down and was like, all right, it's depression. We're going to keep moving. And 9 times out of 10, it never happens. We've been doing this for 4 years as a family. This is what kind of our group is now, as a family. And never happened before. So people who say we just want to be a part of this, that is not the case. It's not.
And the depression didn't form until after we got here.
Right.
And then it just rapidly, accelerated over 2 days. And by the time we tried to get tickets,
It was too late.
It was too late. We would have, even if we got tickets, we would have never got out.
And the airports had closed down by the time we could get out of here. So.
Any updates on when flights? Any updates on when flights will resume back to the U.S.?
So our flight originally, of course, was canceled. We were supposed to leave yesterday. Now we all have flights for Saturday, but that's out of Montego Bay. So some of us have booked flights for the following Wednesday as well. We have double flights booked in hopes that we'll get out. Wednesday is out of Kingston. We've been told that looks a little better. The problem is where we are because of the direct hit. I know the road to Sandals South Coast is blocked by a massive tree. We were so we were told that the hospitals locally have gone down, and I was talking to some of the staff today because I'm a nurse. So I was like, can you get people here? Because I'm sure there's injured people outside our gates. Nobody here is injured, thank goodness. But we know that outside these gates is hell on earth. Like, we know that. It's so bad out there. It is a nightmare. And so I said, can we maybe bring them in and help? And they can't get in because the trees blocking the road are so massive. So whenever that gets cleared, I guess they'll tell us which airport is even a possibility. We all have adult children, and then we also have a 15-year-old. So they're all taking care of each other, and our neighbors and friends have been amazing to help as well. But yeah, we're just kind of waiting by ear. We were talking to a young couple in the hallway that's so stressed about flights, and I said, we just have to wait. We just have to see where we are demolished, and we don't know when we can get out.
But we're alive.
Yes.
That's what matters.
So grateful to be alive.
Yeah.
Hey, worst case scenario, we'll become Jamaicans, and Charles is back here is going to grow dreadlocks.
Well, at least you have a backup plan, guys. But all jokes aside, safe travels, and thank you for sharing your story. Those sound like terrifying moments. I'm glad you guys are smiling now, and hopefully you'll be back home this weekend. Jessica Pope and friends, thank you again.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. And coming up, fentanyl, tariff cuts, and soybeans. All topics are on the table as we are just hours away from a historic meeting between President Trump and Chinese President Xi. But how likely are they to reach an agreement? We're going to talk about it. And later, Harvard astrophysicist and friend of NewsNation, Avi Loeb, joined Joe Rogan on his podcast. They talked the latest on his search for alien tech. Is it hiding in plain sight? Why does he think NASA is hiding critical evidence from the public? Avi will join us live in just a bit.
NewsNation and Decision Desk HQ out in front.
Accurate election results faster than the other networks.
NewsNation once again has called it first.
The difference is DDHQ.
No one has been close to NewsNation because of DDHQ.
Coverage begins Tuesday at 7/6 Central on NewsNation.
Welcome back, everyone. We are just hours away from President Trump's highly anticipated sit-down meeting with Chinese President Xi Jinping in South Korea, their first in-person meeting since Trump returned to office. The two world leaders are expected to discuss the 100% tariff that Trump has threatened to hit Chinese goods starting on November 1st in exchange for China cracking down on fentanyl flowing into the United States. Joining us now, NewsNation correspondent Robert Sherman, who is live in South Korea. Good evening from Chicago, Robert. What do we know about what exactly is on the agenda and, of course, the likelihood that this framework will become a reality?
Hey there, Hannah. Good morning to you from South Korea. Well, this is, without question, one of the most significant sit-downs of President Trump's new presidency here. This meeting with President Xi Jinping, it comes after we have seen months of tense talk, of heightened rhetoric, of retaliatory tariffs and penalties that are going both directions here. And we know that the framework, the topics of discussion, you're going to be hearing a lot about agriculture. You're going to be hearing a lot about rare earth minerals. TikTok potentially is all a part of these conversations as well. These are contentious topics heading into this conversation, but the goal between both sides, come away with a deal. And the president saying he believes, despite the fact we've seen some of these frameworks fall apart in the past, this deal may come together. Take a listen.
Very optimistic, I am. And I know a little bit about what's going on because, we have been talking to them. We're not just walking into a meeting cold, but the relationship with China is very good. So I think we're going to have a very good outcome for our country and for the world, actually. I think it's important for the world.
Here's what Beijing is saying about all of this. This is what their foreign ministry spokesperson said. A head of state diplomacy plays an irreplaceable strategic guiding role in China-U.S. relations. We are willing to work with the U.S. side to promote the generation of positive outcomes from this meeting, providing new guidance for and injecting new impetus into a steadily growing China-U.S. relationship. After this meeting wraps up, which could take a couple of hours, according to the president, he heads back to the United States. There is one last question here, Henna. Is there a detour up north to North Korea, to the DMZ like there was in 2019, or is it a straight shot home? That remains unclear. It's been left open that it may be a little logistically challenging this go around, but the president is emphasizing that he wants to have more conversations with North Korea's leadership the coming weeks and months. Hannah?
Yeah, he said he's very open to it. Robert Sherman live in South Korea. Robert, thank you so much. And coming up back here in the States, early voting is underway in New York City to decide who will be the next mayor. New polling shows Andrew Cuomo may be closing the gap on Zohran Mamdani. Journalist and New York City resident John Stossel joins me live to react. Could there be an October surprise before the month is up? Early voting is underway in New York City to decide the next mayor. And a look at recent polling shows the race may be closer than you'd think. According to Real Clear Politics, Democratic frontrunner Zohran Mamdani is up almost 46 points, followed by independent Andrew Cuomo with 30 points and Republican candidate Curtis Sliwa with almost 16 points. But if we take a look at today's latest poll, it's from Quinnipiac. It only has Mamdani up by 10 points. That's down from earlier this month when Fox News had him up by 24 points. Last week, the Manhattan Institute had him up by 15 points. So is it possible that Mamdani's supercharged lead is dwindling? And if that's true, could Cuomo make up the difference with just 6 days until Election Day? My next guest is libertarian, journalist, and New York City resident John Stossel. His two-part series titled Mamdani's Bad Ideas take a closer look at Mamdani's policies and why Stossel says they won't work. John Stossel joining me now. John, welcome back.
Thank you, Hannah.
Before we dive into your videos, are you surprised by the recent polling that shows Mamdani's lead is narrowing?
No, polling is stupid and it shifts around. The only thing that should impress anyone is the people who bet. And the odds, it's true that Mamdani last week was at 90%, and now he's down to 85%. But that still does give him a 15% chance of losing. So it's possible.
In that video clip we just showed, you point to examples of state-run grocery stores running low on food, operating poorly. This is something Mamdani has said repeatedly that he wants to do in New York. Today, the United Bodegas of America endorsed him. That, for our viewers, is the same group that opposed his grocery store plan. They're now backing him. What do you make of that, John?
I have no idea. They want subsidized competition that might put some of them out of business. What kind of political deal they made, I don't know. But it's useful to have, as George Will said, models of failure. It would let them run a bunch of grocery stores and we'll watch how they might work well for a while, but by year 3, they'll be awful. That's the point about government. I mean, he's ahead because his opponents are creepy, old-looking people like the brother of one of your anchors, and he's appealing, he's likable, and the idea of groceries for the people is likable. Socialism always appears likable. But if you have any economic knowledge, you see the horrible damage it always does.
John Stossel, thank you so much for joining us. I always enjoy talking to you. And we're going back to that Turning Point USA event at the University of Mississippi, where Erika Kirk has just started speaking. There she is. Let's take a listen.
The battle's already won. God's love conquers. And that's why I'm here today. I'm here because this moment, it can either be your breaking point or your wake-up call, essentially your turning point, if you will. And at this moment, every single one of us has a choice to make, whether we stand for freedom or we're just going to fall for everything else. But I want to encourage you, especially the students here, find your voice. You are the courageous generation. That's what you are. All of you. Gen Z, you are the courageous generation. Hear me when I say that. My husband believed that to his core. That's why he went on campuses. That's why he was trying to reach you. You are the courageous generation. Own it. Make him proud. And students beyond Ole Miss, if you are pursuing a chapter on your campus, Harness this amazing opportunity to advocate for something that you truly believe in. And express it in the most articulate way of what exactly you're advocating for. You're advocating for America. You're advocating for freedom of speech. Because our chapters on high school campuses, I love it. Charlie was so excited when he named the programs for high schools. He said, we're going to name it Club America. Because he goes, who could hate that name? It's the perfect name, Club America. And he loved it. Who could be against it? And I want you to know that if you are trying to start a chapter, I'm with you, we're with you, Charlie's with you. You have an arsenal of Turning Point USA staff members that are with you. But I also, what I've been able to sit back and witness is the leaders that have stepped up to ensure that chapters can happen. For example, I don't know if you guys saw what happened earlier this week with Governor Ron DeSantis, which is amazing. I want to give him a massive shout out because he said, we're announcing a partnership with Turning Point USA. We want to make sure that all high schools in Florida, anybody in a high school that wants to start a Club America chapter will be able to do that. There will be no impediments to that and certainly no discrimination. That's amazing. And then also, Governor Youngkin. I want to thank him as well. He donated generously to Turning Point USA to support new Turning Point USA chapters all over the Commonwealth of Virginia. How powerful is that? It's amazing. I'm so thankful. So when I heard that, I just looked up and I was like, all right, Charlie, 2 down, 48 to go. I see you. But Club America and Turning Point USA chapters, if you're wondering what those values are, it's life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that's what our country was founded on. And when you succeed in establishing that chapter, I want to commend you because that experience will leave a mark on you that will influence every choice that you make for the rest of your life and generations to come. Earn your voice. Charlie loved the word earn. Earn your voice. This is about your legacy. Each one of you in this room, everyone watching, when you earn your voice and you stand up for what is right, that is a part of your legacy, your family's legacy, just as much as it is part of Charlie's legacy. Don't forget that. Don't ever forget that. Because if there's one thing I've learned, especially being with Charlie for the past 7 years, it's that the hope we're looking for is not found in Washington. It's not found in media. It's right here. All of you. This is the hope. And he saw that. He saw that. It's in stadiums like this. Charlie had a visual in his head. He loved the on-campus events, but for the night events, he would send Tyler pictures and the team pictures of, I want our chapter events to look like this. And he sent a picture of one of the largest college football stadiums in the country, packed. That was his vision. And that's what makes all of this so powerful, because your generation is living at a crossroads. And you are living in one of the most defining moments in American history. And we are all witnessing in real time the battle that is raging for the soul of your generation. Again, your generation. This is far more than political. And you will hear the world and the culture, for that matter, pressure you and say, go with the flow, don't ruffle feathers, don't say that, you might offend someone, you might lose some friends if you wear a red hat. If you go to a Turning Point USA chapter event. But when I hear that, I need to be so blunt and honest with you now, because before, when I heard it, I said, okay. Now when I hear that, if you're worried about losing a friend, you might. I lost my friend. I lost my best friend. And if you're nervous about standing up for the truth, the assassination of my husband puts into perspective all those fears. It really does. Because my husband never went with the flow. He swam in the streams of significance. And Charlie knew so deeply to his core that comfort doesn't change the world. And you cannot influence the world when you look like it. The enemy of truth doesn't need to destroy a nation overnight. He just needs to convince people that truth no longer matters. And the enemy thrives when Christians don't speak up, when citizens don't vote, when students don't think for themselves. But in Ephesians chapter 5, verse 11, it says, have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. That's what it means to live as salt and light. To bring flavor to a world gone bland, and clarity to a world that lost its way and it's lost in confusion, because Christians are called to go into the public space to correct error with truth, and that's what my husband did. When he would sit there with his microphone, I got to watch this evolve over the years. At first, he would hold the microphone the whole time. He would listen. Then as years went on, he would put the microphone down, and he wasn't listening, he was hearing. He was absorbing what the students were saying and what they were asking. He was engaging. He was calm. He wasn't combative. He never insulted. He just wanted you to think. Again, like I said, he never told you what to say. He just wanted to challenge you so that what your convictions were, you actually understood why you had them, rather than they being talking points because your professor told you so or your friend told you so. He wanted the best of you because he demanded the best of himself. And Charlie would say this all the time: your rights don't come from the government, they come from God. And he knew what every founding father knew, and nearly almost every university has forgotten, that you cannot have freedom without virtue, and you cannot have virtue without God. And that's what makes this nation so different. That's what makes it worth defending as a courageous generation. And another thing that Charlie used to say all the time is that it does not take skill to be courageous. It takes a choice to be courageous. And now's the time to make that choice. Either you sit on the sidelines. I mean, I don't know what else can wake you up. I really don't know what else could stir that fire within you to get involved or to use your voice or to make a difference. If you're looking for another sign, I have no idea what to tell you. I just want to encourage you, though, that yes, this is about America, and yes, my husband would say saving Western civilization. That's true on both fronts. But deeper than that, this is about your soul, because the fight for freedom starts within, inside of each and every one of you. So again, please stand firm against the wickedness of the devil and the schemes of man. Be alert because his tactics are so clever. What he'll do is he will find one thing. He will find fear, he'll find disappointment, he will find one thing, and he will wedge it in between you and the Lord, and he will make it grow. He will make it grow so much that you lose sight. It becomes this, almost like an eclipse, where the truth is hidden behind it. And yes, the light's still there, but you can't see it anymore. That's the enemy's tactic. And the bottom line is that the enemy doesn't need to change your theology. He just needs to change your vision. And if he can get in your head and blur your vision and distort your vision, he'll do it. He'll do whatever he can. But what the enemy forgets, though, is that the presence of a shadow is proof that there is light. He forgets that. And Charlie's murder might seem like we're standing in a shadow, as if death was the victory meant for the enemy, but looking around in this arena, you are proof that this light of truth burns so brightly. So brightly. The Lord is calling you to rise. Please hear me when I say that courageously. He is. Do not be afraid. It is so easy to be afraid, but we are commanded to not be afraid. And when you take that stand, it will encourage and inspire someone else to do the same. Whether that is someone in your circle, whether that's a family member, whether that's someone you've never even met before because they saw you posting something on social media. You can't change a nation if you're enslaved to fear. And you can't call out corruption if you're still chained to comfort. And you can't stand for truth if you first do not kneel before the Lord. And I know I keep saying it, but I'm trying to drive home a point with you all being labeled as the courageous generation, because this generation will decide if America remembers who she is or if she'll forget. And I believe with all my heart that God placed you here now in Ole Miss, not by accident, but by assignment. There is no mistake that you are here in this stadium and arena today. No mistake. God doesn't make mistakes. Doesn't make mistakes. And when being on this campus, I think of 18-year-old Charlie, who would always say, you know, when I started this, I had no money, no connections, and I had no idea what I was doing. But what he did know what he was doing was that he was obeying the Lord. He was obeying what the Lord had placed inside of his heart to fight for. He did.
Chris Cuomo joining me now. Chris, hello. You're about to speak with Democratic Senator John Fetterman, who has been critical of his own party, voted 13 times to end the government shutdown. We're going on day 30 tomorrow. I know Fetterman is not backing down. Good to see you, my friend.
I think that it's good to see you. I think that it's not about going after his party. It's about standing up for what's right, as opposed to just who can win the battle of right and left. And I also believe that there's probably going to be a deal sooner because they've gotten what they wanted. People are so pissed. There's so much outrage, and that is the fuel for this manufactured division. Now, are the Democrats going to get what they want on the subsidies? No. But we'll talk about what the solution is there to get this country to a better place, and I think the senator is one of the good guys.
Yeah, especially with the SNAP benefits ending this weekend. Take it away.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe below and download our NewsNation app right now on your phone, and you will get fact-based, unbiased news for all Americans.